So let me kick it off with just taking you through what is a really good set of notes. All right, now notes are one of the keys to this game, believe it or not. Now most people have notes in some shape or form, normally on PowerPoint, and they chuck it up in for the audience to see as they're talking about it, which we'll have a look at a little later on in the third video, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. What I'm talking about here, quite simply, are speaker notes, notes for you. So these are not notes that you show the audience, they're just notes there to help you stay on track. Right. Now the best way of illustrating that is by me giving you a short presentation. And I'm going to give you a very short presentation, lasts no more than a minute, minute and a half at the most, I suspect, on the subject of illegal workers in the UK. And then I'll show you the notes that I used, and then we'll just talk about the characteristics of what are a really helpful, user-friendly set of notes. Believe it or not, in the UK, there's a major problem now with illegal workers. And current statistics would indicate that there are now something in the region of 300,000 illegal workers in the UK. Now, that is a pretty staggering number by any standard. Of that 300,000, about 180,000 of them, so just over half, come from the former Soviet Union, the old Eastern Bloc countries, as they used to be known. Now, initially, they enter the UK perfectly legally. They come in as tourists, students, trainees. But then, of course, they stay on after their visas have expired, thereby becoming illegal. So, where are they actually coming from? Well, interesting enough, they normally come from countries like Russia, Ukraine. But they don't come from Poland, though. But many of them will use Poland as a springboard to get into the UK. Why? Well, it's the Polish criminals. They're very adept at providing forged ID cards, forged passports, to help them through the immigration processes. Well, that's it. I said it was going to be short, and I hopefully kept to my word. But let me just show you now the notes that I used to help me give that little talk. Okay, well, let's just take a little look at the notes that I used to give you that little talk here. Well, here they are. But just for sake of convenience, we put them up on the screen here. Now, I do emphasize, and I just really want to emphasize this, right? These are speaker notes. They are for you, not for the audience to see. Now, the reason we put them on the screen is that you know, sitting at your desk now, you can see them. All right? Okay, this is not PowerPoint for the audience. These are speaker notes, remember. But what are the features of a really, really good and user-friendly set of notes? Well, very simply, they are, firstly, very comprehensive. All right? The purpose of notes is to remind you of each and every point that you want to talk about in the sequence in which you wish to deliver them. So make them very comprehensive, right? But equally importantly is make them very short. Keep them down to 1, 2, 3 words maximum. Now that way, all right, it will help your eye contact. Right? If you write down too much on the page, then invariably you're going to get drawn down and down and down and down into your notes. So the more you write down on this page, the more script-like they become, the less conversational it will be, because you end up pulling phrases and words and even worse, sentences off the page and saying them. All right? That is not what you want to do. All right? The language that you use must be the conversational language. All right? So, as you can see here, and if you can just relate it back to that little talk that I gave a moment or two ago, is you'll see that every single point that I made actually came from the page, this page here. All right. And as you see, very, very short, 1, 2, 3 words. Now these are very slightly longer in places than I would recommend that you do, or I would do for myself. And the reason quite simply for that is this is something that we would normally give for somebody else to do as part of a training exercise here. All right, but hopefully you get the point. All right, so have a really good set of notes. All right, they take so much of the pressure off you. All right, and this is one of the mistakes that people make, is that invariably they either write down too much or they write down too little. All right, and so the tools that they're using actually are really very unhelpful. And in a bizarre way, it is a little bit like me saying to you, well, I'm fed up with this. Why don't we go and play golf this afternoon? And so you dash off home, but in your rush, instead of bringing your golf clubs, you bring your tennis racket. Well, what's your golf game going to be like? Not great. But that's what most speakers do, is they turn up with a set of notes that are akin to trying to play golf with a tennis racket. Not a good idea. These are one of the keys to the same, a really good user-friendly set of notes.